To First Church Unitarian and to another worship service with our amazing minister, Reverend Lara Hoke, our wonderful music director, Molly Lozeau, and all the volunteers that make these services. Now you can hear me. There. Okay, sorry, I'll talk directly into the mic. So, and all the wonderful volunteers that make these services special. And I'd like to get, my name is Larry Kim. I'm the standing committee, which is part of the executive team. I'd like to give a special welcome to all of you attending our service online. We are really happy to have you with us. I'd like to share a personal reflection. Whenever I've been up in front of the congregation looking out, I see all these faces, and I say, all these people are such an important part of my life. And it makes it clear to me why our minister gets up and she feels so fortunate. I want to mention that there's, after the service, there'll be a social hour on the lawn right outside the church. So please join us for that. Catch up with your other congregants, and maybe even meet somebody new. And with that, just a reminder to turn off your personal devices and enjoy the service.
This is the season of building tents of holiness, shelters of peace in our land and in our hearts. This is the season of building tabernacles of joy and gladness in our moments and in our days, in our homes and in our lives. This is the season that summons jubilation and exultation as we yearn for the great promise to be fulfilled, a world of harmony and love under one great sukkah, a sanctuary of wonder and awe for all nations and all peoples. The words of Alden Solovy. Let us worship. I'd like to invite our worship associate to light our chalice. And as Martha is lighting our chalice, Please join with me in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of our church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Good morning. I join with Larry in welcoming you to First Church Unitarian here in Littleton, Massachusetts, or wherever you are virtually. Good morning. If you are with us for the first time today in person, please consider filling out the lavender card in the pew rack ahead of you and putting it in the offering plate when it comes around so that we can contact you if you wish. And if it's your first time, please don't feel obligated to make an offering today, but consider this service our offering to you. For those of you joining us for the first time virtually, we're so glad you're here too, and we hope that you will consider going to our website, fculittle.org, scroll down and click where it says Virtual Pew Card, and you can fill that out if you wish. Thank you to our choir and Molly for pre-recording a couple of pieces for us today. You heard the first one just now. It's wonderful. And thank you to today's Michael Bestian, and Doug Sweetser was helping out as well, so thank you. It's always an adventure getting our live stream up. Is Jan Dustin. And remember that we don't have a greeting line during our yellow light conditions, so there'll be no receiving line. Just go out on the side lawn and you can see us there. All right, it is wonderful to be together on what turned out to be a beautiful day. Special greeting for our remote participants. If you haven't already, please go to menti.com and put in this code, same as last week, 95116873. And then later on, when we have joys and concerns, you'll be able to share one of those virtually as well. So please let us. Do we have any folks signing in yet? If you can take a microphone and read the names so far.
Okay, we have Lori Grant, Diva and Diggory, Christine, Carl and Peggy, Cindy H., Ann Donald, Ann Ciala. I wish, but the live stream is very glitchy today. Monica and Mike.
Well, wonderful to have you with us, and anyone else who might be with us virtually. Thank you for being here. All right, normally we're at that time in the service where we would sing a hymn, but we can't sing together in yellow light conditions. Instead, last couple Sundays we've been making a joyful noise, so I'll let Molly lead us. I might reorder the order of service next week because now we're doing candles of caring. How did I do that? So come down from that joyful noise. Most weeks we have a time together to share what is deepest and connects us to each other and what is holy. If you have an important joy or concern that you would like to share this morning, I invite you to do that, to raise your hand high enough so that we can see you and bring the microphone to you where you are. So everyone has enough time who wishes to share. Please let us know briefly how we might direct our thoughts, prayers, and healing wishes. And a reminder to anyone virtually to go to menti.com 95116873 and share with us there. Any joys or concerns to share? continue to share joys and concerns, and we will be able to see them later on the screen. We'll leave that up. So I'd ask for one more candle if it's not too late for all those joys and concerns that are with us this morning, but that remain unspoken. Community. Let us now hold in our thoughts or prayers or just healing well wishes those joys and concerns that were spoken aloud this morning or shared virtually, as well as those that remain unspoken or unshared, as we hold together a time of sacred silence. Make an offering toward our ministries. You can put it in the offering plate as it comes around or online. You can go to our website, fculittle.org, and look for the yellow donate button in the top right corner, or find our street address and send a check if you wish. This morning's offering for the good works of First Church Unitarian will now be given and received in grateful appreciation. This morning's reading are some excerpts from the book of Ecclesiastes, part of the Hebrew Scriptures. Ecclesiastes is actually the Greek or Latin translation of collet, which is a Hebrew word that actually means gatherer, but traditionally it's translated often as teacher or preacher. This book of Ecclesiastes was written in approximately 250 BC, and this is traditionally read in synagogues on the Sabbath that falls during Sukkot. Here begins the reading. Pointless, pointless, says Colette. Utterly meaningless. Nothing matters. What does a person gain from all his labor at which he toils under the sun? Everything is wearisome, more than one can express. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, the ear not filled up with hearing. What has been is what will be. What has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Is there something of which it is said, see, this is new? It already existed in the ages before us. I have wisely applied myself to seek out and investigate everything done under heaven. What a bothersome task God has given humanity to keep us occupied. I have seen all the activities that are done under the sun, and it's all pointless, feeding on the wind. I searched to find out what was the best thing for people to do during the short time they have under heaven to live. I worked on a grand scale. I built myself palaces, planted myself vineyards, and made myself gardens and parks. In them I planted all kinds of fruit trees. I amassed silver and gold. I acquired things that provide sensual delight. I denied my eyes nothing they wanted. I withheld no pleasure from myself, for I took pleasure in all my work, and this was my reward for all my work. Then I looked at all my hands had accomplished, and at the work I had toiled at, and I saw that it was all meaningless and feeding on wind, and that there was nothing to be gained under the sun. So I decided to look more carefully at wisdom, stupidity, and foolishness. I saw that wisdom is more useful than foolishness, just as light is more useful than darkness. The wise man has eyes in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. Yet the same fate awaits them both. So I came to hate life because the activities done under the sun were loathsome to me, since everything is meaningless and feeding on wind. So there is nothing better for man to do than eat, drink, and be merry. For everything there is a season, a right time for every intention under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep, a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. When things are going well, enjoy yourself. But when things are going badly, consider that God made one alongside the other. So don't grasp just one of these rules. Take hold of the other as well. For he who is in fear of God will live by both of them. There isn't a righteous person on earth who does only good and never sins. Enjoy life with the wife you have loved throughout your meaningless life, all the days of your futility, for that is your allotted portion in life. Pointless, meaningless, nothing matters at all. Here is the final conclusion, now that you've heard everything. Fear God and keep his mitzvot. This is what being human is all about. There ends the reading. Sukkot began last Monday at sundown and ends tomorrow at sundown. Sukkot is a Jewish holiday, sometimes known as the Festival of Booths, sometimes known as Tabernacles. All the names come from the same idea, namely the word Sukkot comes from the Hebrew word sukkah, which means a temporary dwelling. Jewish holidays typically ask members of the faith to relive something important from Jewish history. In Sukkot, Jews are asked to relive, symbolically, of course, 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. The 40 years of wandering in the wilderness or the desert after the liberation from slavery in Egypt. And the reality that during that time they would have been living in temporary dwellings. The central requirement during Sukkot is to dwell in a sukkah. Now, you don't literally have to live in the sukkah all week, though apparently in Israel it is lovely this time of year, and you probably could. But the requirement instead is that you eat at least one meal, preferably one a day, in the sukkah during the week to relive that temporary condition of wandering. There are many specific requirements spelled out for what would be a kosher sukkah. And believe it or not, the sukkah that we have built here on the side lawn that the kids are decorating now actually meets all the requirements, I believe, except that we should have finished it days earlier than we did. So make sure you take a look at it before you go. And for those of you online, there is a picture there on Facebook. With a holiday like Passover, Jews are symbolically reliving a very time-specific event from the Bible, the events leading up to the slavery ending in Egypt with plagues and so on, but events that would have happened over a limited number of days. With Hanukkah, for instance, there's also a symbolic reliving of another very time-specific event from the non-canonical book of Maccabees, recreating the temple oil lasting for the 8 nights. But with Sukkot, you're talking about an event that's really 40 years or more than 14,000 days. So it's very different. After learning what Sukkot is meant to be about, you might wonder why Sukkot falls now. Why doesn't it happen after Passover? Because it's the next part of that story. But you can't really pick one date from an annual calendar to celebrate a 40-year event. So instead, the event corresponds roughly with the harvest season. In the synagogue, there is a tradition sometimes called lulav and etrog. Lulav are branches of the palm tree. Etrog is a citrus fruit, usually a lemon. And those two things are held together with branches from myrtle and branches from willow to form the 4 species. And those are held together and shaken to celebrate the bounty of the time of year. Observant Jews would go to the synagogue during the Sabbath that falls on Sukkot, and there they would hear a reading of the entire book of Ecclesiastes, you heard a relatively short set of excerpts. It's one of the shorter books of the Bible, of the Hebrew Bible, but nevertheless, the whole thing is pretty long. That was written in 250 BC, roughly 2,300 years ago. What did you think? Book of Ecclesiastes. It's kind of a kick in the pants, isn't it? The book of Ecclesiastes, it always blows me away. It was written, like I said, in about 250 BC, about 2,300 years ago, and yet it sounds so modern. It sounds like a blog post. Another good question you might have about Sukkot is, why read the book of Ecclesiastes for Sukkot? It doesn't have anything to do with the harvest. It doesn't have anything to do with the 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. Two major connections between Ecclesiastes and Sukkot. The first is that kind of hairy hair shirt sensibility that many religious people seem to have. Our Puritan forebears on our Unitarian side had this sensibility. It's that idea that fasting is somehow better than feasting, that somehow it's good to suffer. Ecclesiastes talks about some of life's hardships, and Sukkot relives some hardships. So there's that connection. The second connection I see is that the teacher, the author of Ecclesiastes, Colette, keeps saying, when life is good, enjoy it. Eat, drink, and be merry. Take life as it comes. Enjoy what is good while you can. And certainly, you're forced to take life as it comes when you want to have some. I have many appreciations myself of this holiday. Like any Jewish holiday, just about. It's a great opportunity for lots of family-friendly activities. Sukkot offers something that your family or chosen family can do to step away from modern things and really focus on each other and the basics. The idea of eating meals in a sukkah reminds me of times when there's a power outage during decent weather, not when it's freezing. And if you have power outages in decent weather, it can be almost fun for a few days to eat by candlelight, to play board games and card games, to turn off all your screens. There's no flat screen TV in a sukkah. Another appreciation I have about Sukkot is that it's a holiday dealing with an inherently vulnerable situation of being forced into a nomadic life, yet trying to respond not with fear, not with anger, but with gratitude. It's the challenge of seeing the positive even in hard times, because somehow you make it through, and then there's still that bounty, even with the uncertainty. You might remember the concept of tikkun olam in Judaism, healing and liberating the world as a duty. When you're working on justice and liberation, there are sometimes those big glorious triumphs, those moments you'll always remember, those parting of the Red Sea dramatic victories with their glory. In modern times, I'll never forget that glorious moment when same-sex marriage became the law of the land here in the United States. I was at Unitarian Universalist General Assembly, and there was a big celebration. But you know what? It's not over. You still have to keep fighting. You still have to fight for the same right you just won, just to keep it. Sukkot is a reminder, as some have said, that the journey toward liberation and justice isn't a one-time event. The journey toward liberation and justice is a long slog of more like wandering in the desert for 40 years. Sukkot also reminds us that the best goals in life are often not things you'll achieve during your lifetime. In the Passover story, only 2 of the adults who were liberated from slavery in Egypt actually make it to the promised land. But the next generation makes it. So Sukkot is a reminder that sometimes the best, most worthy goals are ultimately for the next generation. I also think of looking up through a sukkah roof, and one of the rules is that you should be able to look up through the sukkah roof and still see the sky. And you look up through that roof, and you see the stars, and you see the moon. And I think of that old song, "The moon belongs to everyone, the best things in life are free." Sukkot reminds us. Taking this one step further, Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt, who blogs under a pen name The Velveteen Rabbi, says that one of the best things about Sukkot is that it's a reminder that permanence is overrated and our true home is under the stars. This year, may Sukkot remind us that indeed the best things in life are free. The most worthy goals may not be achieved during our lifetime. Take it as it comes and enjoy the good when it comes, but try to take it all in stride. May Sukkot remind us that a temporary shelter, a little lean-to, doesn't really provide much protection. Our real protection is what we give to each other. The conclusion of the author of Ecclesiastes is that the best you can do is to fear God, which is better translated actually as to be in awe of God, and to follow God's rules, the commandments and rules. My translation would be, for modern Unitarian Universalists, maybe the best we can do is to be in awe of nature, of the universe, of the bounty that is there, and to live by the rules of life that we need to bring about tikkun olam, helping to heal and liberate the world. Or, as Alden Solovy's words in our call to worship put it, this is the season that summons jubilation and exultation as we yearn for the great promise to be fulfilled, a world of harmony and love under one great sukkah, a sanctuary of wonder and awe for all nations and all peoples. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
The spacious firmament on high, with all the blue ethereal sky, and spangled lands of shining frame, their great original proclaim.
together, more vulnerable than we like to think, in structures that are less permanent than we like to believe, but knowing that we have each other, that our strength and our security lies with each other and helping each other in this world, come what may, enjoying the good times when they come, doing what we can to enjoy the bounty that is all around us, and remembering to do what we can to bring about healing and justice in the world. May you enjoy the beauty and bounty of this season. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.